All right, what's going on, everybody? Last week of our foundational four topics that we're going to do here. Today we're going to talk about stress management. Um, this one I think is pretty important. I think a lot of people underestimate how much stress they're really under.
Absolutely. And I think that one of the most important things that we could start this conversation off with is actually addressing the fact that there's two different kinds of stress, and that stress isn't just all bad. There's good stress and bad stress, which is defined as eustress and distress. And so I just think it's important to have that distinction in there because people will just automatically assume stress equals bad. But we can actually go through periods of stress that are good and they're beneficial for us and they help us grow.
Yeah, no, I think that's very true. It's kind of like the word consequence doesn't inherently mean a negative thing, but it can be. Same thing with stress. There technically are healthy stressors and there's also negative stressors, and it's very important to define those. Like a good stressor is, maybe restricting your calories for 3 to 5 weeks after you've had, an elongated bulk or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Or doing a cold plunge or a sauna, or even possibly just going out to walk when it's very hot or very cold.
Mm-hmm.
Um, those can all be positive stressors, even though they're not fun.
Yeah, physical activity in general is going to be a positive stressor. And anything that's like feelings of eagerness or like excited, if
Hmm.
you're feeling those sorts of ways, usually that's an indication of positive stress.
Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, you know, even when you're gritting your teeth when you're cold in the cold plunge, it still feels like you're kind of laughing a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah. Um, I also think, one of the, big things that people need to consider when it comes to stress management is that um that everyday stress that people don't really think about or you just kind of get used to or accept in your life. Those things can really add up, whether it's like, gritting your teeth most of the day or breathing quickly and like not and being absent-minded when you're breathing and not taking a second to do a nice 5 second in, then a hold and a 5 second out, or like kind of trying to control your breathing, and like little things like that, and keeping your daily stress low, is going to help you for dealing with higher stress days, because you'll have all these little things that you figured out to be able to manage the stress that you're going through.
Yeah, and I mean, there's obvious health concerns if you aren't managing that day-to-day stress. It kind of accumulates on you and it can seriously affect your immune system. So if you're a person who is consistently getting sick whenever the latest bug makes its way around the community, you might want to look at how stressed you are day in and day out and try to address that.
Yeah, that is true. I remember I looked up a list here actually, and there's like 24 different negative impacts of just common impacts on stress. It's insomnia, high blood pressure, obesity, chest pain, tense muscles, immune deficiency, fatigue, upset stomach, anxiety, headaches, depression, constant worrying, cardiovascular issues, decreased sex drive, nausea, appetite changes, constipation, irritability, trouble concentrating, memory issues, colds, dizziness, skin problems, body aches. So it's like clearly there's more than one reason to want to do this well.
Yeah.
So, and I know a lot of people, the very first one, I feel like a lot of people deal with insomnia to a certain degree or poor sleep, and they don't realize it. And they don't realize that they're giving or they're taking away their body's natural cycle of getting rid of these things. And like I know there's something that happens in the brain where it like flushes out most of the fluids and refreshes them all night when you sleep. And that's why if you get poor sleep, you're like so like brain fog and stuff like that. You got like old fluid or what, you know what I mean? It's a very, I'm sure, very crude way of saying it and not correct all the way. But I think the problem or the point still stands, that it's, managing these stressors and giving your body the proper space to manage them correctly and how it's adapted to do so is going to prove to be very beneficial for you.
Yeah, and it really just goes to show how much of our like our body is a total system. You know, like you talk about how stress can affect sleep. Well, guess what? Sleep can affect stress, you know, and like
Hmm.
stress can affect our eating habits. It can affect our digestive system, and the type of food that we eat also can affect how we're feeling. So, like the obvious one is caffeine. If I'm over consuming caffeine, well, my level of stress is probably going to be through the roof. Like at least that's how it's going to feel. I'm going to be jittery and anxious.
Hmm.
There's all these things that just come together, even the fitness side of things. You know, people who regularly exercise report lower levels of stress.
Yeah. Yeah, the exercise one is big. Um, like for example, for the gaming community or even just the desk people, um, something I notice whenever maybe I haven't worked out for 3 or 4 days, and maybe I spend a lot of time at work leaning forward, cashiering, or even here, forward on my desk with my shoulders,
Mm.
doing stuff like rows or even pull-ups or just like that depression feeling of the shoulders depressing back and contracting with the shoulder blades there is that like it almost is like it's almost like massaging that area is like kind of what it feels like. Not like someone's massaging it, but it's like putting that tension on it is relieving that. And I actually really genuinely feel like a stress relief from the gym a lot of times. Like most of the time, especially now since I've been doing it for like 15 years or whatever almost, I don't really go to the gym to see results. I literally go to the gym to manage my mental health and my stress levels because it's that impactful.
Yeah, funny story actually. Recently, I decided that I wanted to start running a little bit more, which
Hmm.
was a surprise to myself because in my sport of baseball growing up, running was a punishment. So it always felt that way afterwards.
Yeah, dude, I don't run.
So I decided to start running some more. And I actually like had my first runner's high, quote unquote, that I've had in a very, very long time. And dude, I was kind of blown away. It just like it's like a peacefulness that came over me.
Hmm.
It's almost a strange feeling. And I was like, whoa. And it actually made me run even further because I was like, I'm gonna hold on to this feeling as long as I can.
Yeah. I think it has something to do with like, this is me just kind of guessing here, but I feel like it kind of like goes back to the original point you were trying to make with constantly uh like creating a distraction for yourself and like so when you're doing something like running where your body is focusing on breathing, focusing on not rolling your ankle, focusing on keeping, you're so zoned in. And like I can relate to this for when I would go to jujitsu. I'm like fighting for my life, trying not to get choked out, but yet I'm like smiling, I'm like having a great time. I feel genuinely relaxed and like I'm having a great time. It's so odd how doing these heavy stresses to your body within reason, obviously, don't go beat the crap out of yourself, but doing these things that really call your body to do more than just sitting there, um, ironically actually gives you more energy and it makes that sitting down time more valuable because you're happier, you feel productive, you feel like you've done something, you feel kind of, I mean, me personally, I almost feel like I earned the downtime, but
Yeah, speaking to the combat sports thing, especially with jujitsu, I mean, I haven't actually practiced it myself, but I've known people that have, and
mhm,
I'm into MMA, like I like to watch UFC and all that stuff. And it would seem as
nice.
if that those guys who like they fight and grapple for a living, they're some of the most chill dudes.
Yep.
You know, like you think of what they're doing is like putting themselves in one of the most high stress things that you could possibly do outside of like a real world like fight on the street,
Yeah.
and they end up being the most relaxed people. And it's like, okay, well, you kind of have to pay attention to what's happening there, and you can get that in the gym. It's just that there's a heightened state when you're in combat.
Well, and it's that stress adaptation, right?
Mhm.
Like that's what they're experiencing is that they train already in a stressful environment, and then when they go out and fight in the octagon or roll on the mats in jiu-jitsu for a competition or powerlifting competition, all these kind of things, whatever, when you kind of hit that peak, you you peak out those stressors so much that someone cutting you off is just kind of like, you're not like ripping on the steering wheel and getting all crazy because you're like, well, it's not that big of a deal. Because you're like, well, I'm still alive, I'm not getting choked out, or I'm not getting
Yeah,
punched in the
exactly.
face, or I'm not having to push 300 pounds above my head with a push press, or some crazy like that. So that's, I'm not saying that you have to go push to the most extreme, but kind of like you said, even just with lifting weights, doing something that challenges your normal and keeping it, you know, keeping it at a variable for your body when it comes to the physical activity, it's actually going to be very crucial to your stress management naturally,
Mhm.
and it kind of actually, I'm glad that we did this one last, even though it's very important and something you should consider every day. It kind of doesn't work unless you follow those other three first.
Yeah, like we were talking about earlier, if you're not sleeping well, if you're not eating well, and if you're not physically active, the chances of you being a stressed person are pretty high. Let's be
Hmm.
honest. And so if you can master those three first, the stress management kind of just comes along with them. It piggybacks on the back of them. I mean, of course, we live our lives, we have ups and downs, there are difficulties in life, stressful moments. Yeah, obviously, we want to be able to get through that as best we can. But it just becomes all the more easy when we have the other parts of life set up in a practical and healthy way.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that would probably, tie us into maybe, I think we've kind of hit it home, how important it is. But I think that, we should probably send people off with some ideas. I know we've mentioned like just being physically active and fitness, which I think a lot of people at this point, it's kind of a given in a way. Like people are like, yeah, 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 I get it. I gotta lift weights to be healthy. But there's a lot that, encompasses a stress management routine. It is your structured fitness routine, but it's also investing time in a bedtime routine.
Mhm.
Doing yoga a couple times a week or every day if you can manage it. Getting yourself outside to just breathe some fresh air and see some sunshine, even if it is cold outside. Like it's good for you. Um, but yeah, I mean, I don't know if you got some more specific ones, but I really think keeping it that simple is important for stress.
Yeah, I mean, I do just to give people some options, but to actually touch on the exercise again, I want to make a very strong point of regular exercise. This is not the sort of thing where it's like, I feel stressed, so let me go to the gym once a month or whenever I'm feeling that way. It really should be something that you're doing regularly and
Hmm.
almost like proactively battling stress as opposed to reactively. So don't
That's
treat,
yeah.
yeah, don't treat the gym like like a fix to your stress, even though it can help. I'm not saying that it won't help you if you do it that way. But if you really want to go to war with stress and stop it before it even really starts, regular exercise.
Yeah, preventative maintenance, right?
Exactly. On top of that, just a few things. Uh, if you're a Christian, you believe in God like I do, prayer is so good. It's so powerful
Hmm.
for me to combat stress in my life and just to let go of things. Social interaction is one of those positive stressors in our lives, even if we have, say, social anxiety, which a lot of times comes from having less social interaction. Like I know myself, and many people watching this, I'm sure, know going through these pandemic years that we went through, we had less social interaction. People just became more anxious and became more stressed. And so we're social creatures, we're meant for that. So that's a good one to have. A clean environment. If you come home and your place is a wreck and it's in disarray, that's a stressor. That's not a good stressor. That's like
Mhm.
when you see chaos in your home, you're going to feel chaos on the inside. So I just wanted to make a point of those.
Yeah, no, I think those are really good. I think w one thing I like to add real quick to the prayer part, this is just me personally. It doesn't have to look like you at the end of your bed on your knees with your hands prayed, and like and having like this well thought out like dear God kind of letter thing. That's something I struggle with a lot. Definitely when I was a lot younger, but I think a lot of people can achieve that same mental clarity or that same uh progress or whatever you want to call it with that by even just doing it on like your walk and just kind of talking to yourself in your head about it and really asking for advice and stuff like that and kind of finding those moments to be ultra present with it. I think I don't know, I just think some people get caught up more in the imagery of it or like what it may look like to other people opposed to actually like having it fit their life when it actually is needed. So that's just probably the only thing I'd want to add.
Yeah, no, that's important to note too, because people might have this idea of prayer being, like you said, like on your knees, bedside, hands together. But ultimately, as it seems to me, there doesn't even need to be words. It can just
Mhm.
be an opening of the heart, and just saying in your heart, rather, um, God, abide in me. Like it's simple. It's a feeling. It's not always words. So, in saying that, um, regardless of whether it's prayer or not, I wanted to throw out just a practical tip for stress management for people to put into practice, is to sit in silence for 10 minutes every day. And that's no distractions, no TV, no phone, no nothing. Just sit there, be with your thoughts, give yourself a chance to process things. We're so distracted these days that I think that the stress just continues to rise because we don't ever give ourselves a chance to process it and to see what's going on. So I just want to throw that out there as an action step.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good one. I know I was making funny faces, but that's that is true. It's a very good goal to reach to. I'd say don't get mad at yourself if you can't do 10 right away. If that seems overwhelming, do 2 minutes for a week or two and then do 4 minutes and then do six and you know what I mean? Like scale it up to 10 minutes or even longer if you can. Um and one thing too, I mean, I know I'm sure everyone's well aware, but I feel like we should mention it in our stress management video is limit your social media use. There's so many times where I'll have a TV show going and then like I'll be watching a TV show and then I'll just be like,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
and it's like, what do you, like, what are you doing? I'd actually would find myself like in my head being like, pick one, either turn the TV off or put your phone down. Like you're not going to be doing both. So, it's funny how many distractions there are around us to make us forget about our stresses. So I think that, the 10 minutes it really can bring to light. If all you're thinking about is where's my phone? I wonder if someone texted me, did I miss notification? If that's like all you're thinking in those 10 minutes, that probably shows you, all right, well, I probably need to do some fast from social media. Or if you're thinking about food the whole time, like maybe you need to do that, or you're thinking about you're stressful at work, maybe you need to take more time in your off time to, like you said, it's a really good self-reflection period, and it kind of really can open you up to yourself if you're willing to do it.
Yeah. And for anybody that's like struggling with that sort of thing and they feel like they're just constantly thinking about, well, who's texting me? Who's liked my picture? Whatever it may be. In those 10 minutes, best practice probably to put your phone in a different room. At the very least, put it on airplane mode so you're not getting any notifications. Because we're being trained It's like what is it, Pavlov's dog. Like
Yeah.
all these like dings that we get on our phone all day. We're just like, who, what? Oh, like we just want
Yeah.
to see what it is. And so keep that thing away from you just for those 10 minutes, and I know it'll have a positive impact.
I agree. I think that's great advice for stress management protocol. I think, take a little notes and kind of extrapolate what's going to work for you and what maybe isn't from this video. I think, we've kind of given them a nice pool of information to grab from and, put together something to help them with stress.
Yeah, absolutely. And this being the final episode of the Foundational Four, I just want to recap real quick all the action steps for you, the watcher, the listener, to put into place to live a healthier and better life right now. Okay, so first up, sleep 7 to 8 hours per night.
Hmm.
Drink half of your body weight in ounces of water every day. Average 10,000 steps per day and 10 minutes of non interrupted, no distractions, silence every day.
Yeah, you do those, you're living large, my friend.
Seriously, you will feel amazing.
Yeah. It's kind of hard not to, and also before we kick it off and we hang it up here, um I know I've mentioned in some of my Facebook lives, but don't be afraid to dig into some supplements, like magnesium glycinate, vitamin D, and K2. Those are some really good ones to help with stress. A lot of people, it's like somewhere like 60-70% of people are deficient in magnesium.
Mhm.
And a lot of people stay indoors so they don't get enough vitamin D. Uh, and I also take fish oils, omega super threes, because we already get a lot of 6 and 9s with those seed oils.
Mhm.
So like doing some general maintenance with your supplements too, like that'll help keep everything in line. I just know that when I started just doing some base level stuff, nothing too crazy,
Mhm.
all cheap supplements, by the way, my stress naturally is just less. So, um, can't
Yeah,
forget the subs, but I didn't want to make that a whole thing. So I don't want people to just go right for the supplements and then ignore all these protocols that we've given them. So,
I'll throw two in real quick that helped me actually, aside from magnesium, because I take that as well. But vitamin D, I noticed when I got a quality vitamin D supplement, and I did notice a big effect from that. But also ashwagandha, specifically
hmm,
KSM 66. It's like the ashwagandha root powder. That I find very helpful. I take that every day actually.
interesting. Yeah, I like that. I get the same effect from rhodiola. If I take rhodiola when I'm having a very stressful week, I notice I'm just kind of more not like floating through stuff, but it seems as if just nothing. Like you go from like a 1 to a 2, not like from a 1 to a 5. You're just kind of like, I mean, it was annoying, but whatever. So
Yeah,
definitely worth some research.
yeah, absolutely. And as we wrap this series up, I just want to make sure that people know, anybody who's watching this, reach out to either Kyler or me. If you have any questions at all, if you need any advice, if you just want to pick our brain, please reach out. We're more than willing to help. This is what we do for a living. We want to be there for people. We want to see people live a better life. So don't be afraid. Don't be silent. If you need either of us, please just message us.
Absolutely. And, mostly what we're going to bring to the table is accountability.
Hmm.
If you're someone that's struggling hard with this stuff, everything that we've given you is pretty much what we're going to take you through. With a little bit of differences in regard to our own preferences, but it's going to look pretty simple to that. And so the idea of, not wanting to start because it's overwhelming, we kind of just laid out in a blueprint how simple, maybe not easy, but how simple it will be. And
Hmm.
we're here to help you through those ups and downs, celebrate the highs and pick you up on the lows. So
Yes, sir.
that second that, reach out if you guys need us. So I really appreciate, all the support and watching the videos. And next week we'll maybe get a little bit more banter out of Zach and I, and we'll just be going back and forth with some pick your brain kind of stuff, and it won't be so structured. So that'll be fun.
Yeah, maybe we'll do like a Q&A or something and get some questions in
I
where we
like
can
that.
address something, you know, see what
Hmm.
they actually wanted to hear about.
Get the people going.
That's right.
Huh.
But yes, even though the series is ending, please stay tuned. We are going to do more episodes. Have your questions ready. I'm sure that we'll be doing something like that soon. But it's been great doing these episodes. If you need a place to start, start with these four.
Absolutely. I second all that.
All
All
right,
right,
man.
guys. Well, we'll be back next week.
Good luck, everybody.
Yeah. Good luck. We're always here.